Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie and joining me this week is Mr. Rob.
Hello.
How's your head, Rob? Because we were drinking last night.
We were. My head is surprisingly fine.
Yeah.
I woke up in a decent state today.
Yeah, me too. I woke up about 8 o'clock and was like, okay, I'm awake. I don't feel hungover. This situation feels fine. This might not have been fine, but I'm happy with it.
It's a bit of a rarity for us, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Normally after a night out, there's like 2 days written off, but
you know what it is.
I'm sufficiently smug about it.
You know what it is. What usually happens is when we get to a certain point in the night we get to, which we did get to last night, where Chris gets to a level of drunk where he starts buying shots.
Yes,
I mean, you have no willpower. Where when we pretty much approached that point of the night, Chris had already left because he's got a child. So he had been with us, but it's only me and you stayed out longer. We went home rather than doing shots.
Yeah, like, had a nice little stroll home.
Yeah.
Got a McFlurry. Got in, listened to some Linkin Park, and then went to sleep.
I got home, I think it must have been about 12:30 or something. I got in. It's like, I ordered a pizza, and like, alright, I'm going to stay up for a couple of hours, play a bit of Octopath.
Yeah, it was a pleasant grown-up evening, I think.
Yeah, it was good.
Very good.
We do have a great show for you this week, where we will be talking about E3 being dead, finally, seemingly. A controller with a touchscreen, and Ubisoft coming to Game Pass very soon. All that and much, much more on this week's XPass. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications turned on, so kept in the loop of all of great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where every single Tuesday we break down all the PlayStation news for you on the blue side of gaming. Our upcoming show, which we've just recently announced, called Lunar Listening, will be a Lunar podcast. We're thinking that's probably maybe at least initially going to be maybe just once a month. We don't want to overstretch ourselves, but we do want to cover Lunar. And to be fair, the roots of this channel is in cloud gaming, and we've been kind of waiting for Lunar to come to the UK for quite a while at this point. Talking about Lunar, Chris has done a first look at some of the stuff on Lunar, testing out things like Lunar Couch and a few different games. That was last Thursday's live stream. This Thursday, or Friday, I haven't decided. I think I set it up for Thursday. I will be playing Elden Ring. It will happen. It's already scheduled on the channel. So head over to youtube.com/Helix Plays Games, and you can find that. You can get it in your watch later list and get ready to see me die a lot and get incredibly frustrated on camera.
I'm curious to see if you get more frustrated than Chris at those types of games.
I have so much anxiety going into this game. I really do. Because with it being like such a Game of the Year contender, like it's such beloved game, and then I was getting pissed off with Warlong. what am I getting myself into? It's like, I need to play it. I keep telling myself, I have it. I have the game. I need to play it. I see it as a must play. Like, I need to give this a fair shot. And that's I've built it so much in my mind, but I know it's going to be a difficult game. So it's like, that's why I keep like going, oh, Chris is doing Luna. All right, I'll do that next week instead.
Why don't you practice all week, okay? Then delete your save data and then pretend like you get into it for the first time, because there is a risk if you butcher this game that it destroys any credibility this channel has. So
I don't
put that
think
on your shoulders.
I think
it
we're
does,
okay.
Richie. No, it's not. You have to do well at this game, Richie.
Yeah, I think it's better to not cheat. I want this to be a first look. I've not really watched too much things like streams of Elden Ring or anything, so I really don't have that much intricate knowledge of the world, the plot, and everything that's going on. So it is very much a blind jump in. I know it more by reputation, actual what the game is. So that's why I've always wanted to. I want to do my first ever attempt at playing this game on camera as part of a live stream, so people in the comments can give me advice and take the piss out of me.
Which I will be doing, definitely.
Yep. But we have all that and much, much more for you. Links to all the socials and stuff are in the link description below. Been playing anything interesting, Rob?
Yes, very interesting. I have been hammering my way through Resident Evil 4. I actually got home last night when I was in no fit state to play like a shooter, like with suspense, and tried to get through the. For anybody who's played this original, I was like, it was my first go through the laboratory where you come into contact with like a very iconic enemy of Resident Evil 4, and it just was not the time to be doing that. I panicked lots. I unloaded all my ammunition into one enemy and then turned the PlayStation off before it saved. So
this was a mistake.
Yeah.
I was not in the right way to experience this. I'm going to try it again. Is that cheating?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
I hope not. But no, like so far, like I have nothing bad to say about the game. They've done it in such a way that it's really faithful to the original. They've got rid of some of the dated kind of concepts that were in there, like the kind of rapidly tapping X to go through kind of quick time events and stuff like that. They're all gone, and it's just really like a triumph of a remake in the same vein that number 2 was. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
what about you?
When it comes to remakes, I think the trick is you need to actually elevate the content as well. I don't think it's enough. Depending on how old the game is, I don't think it's enough to just put it out again. If you're going to do that, you might as well just do a remaster. And I think a remaster of Resident Evil 4 would have worked quite well, actually. But yeah, I think if you're going to remake it, it's elevating the game. It's like, okay, what can we do to make this game even better than the original?
Mm-hmm. And they've done it.
Yeah. For me, I finally rolled credits on Hogwarts Legacy. Got the platinum as well, which I know Chris is currently working through as well. He keeps texting me for like tips to like get the platinum, like the trophies and stuff.
Yeah. What do you find was the hardest bit about platinuming it? Was there any particular kind of collectible or?
I think there's a few bits that are kind of a bit obscure. I got a bug in Hogwarts, so for the field guide pages, it didn't count them all. So it looks, if you go on my save, it's actually 1 down in Hogwarts, like on the counter in game. That was a pain in the ass. So a bit of googling, I realised, yeah, this is a known bug sort of thing. So then I just moved on, when hoping to God that it wasn't like a case of, no, you have actually missed one and have to search the entire castle. Which I know I was using guides for help clean up and stuff, but it's like when you've got like maybe 50 pages in there, I'm gonna have to go to every single location to check. So that could have been a pain in the ass. The landing platforms, I think there's not many of them, but they don't appear on the map, so you kind of have to fly around the region looking for them. You know how many there is in the region, but you don't know where they are. But,
yeah, I was a bit confused because I was playing earlier in the week and I found one of those. And did it actually have a purpose, or is it just like literally just something
it's basically a collectible. It's probably the most pointless collectible ever, because all you do is you land on them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing really happens. You get a bit of experience. You get that check mark that you've done one.
Yeah, because I landed on it just because, like, instinctually, because I was like, oh, there's like a clear place I can land, and it's, I'll just land. And then, like, suddenly, like, the collectible triggered.
I think it almost feels like this was part of an old game design that they never really got rid of. It's one of them. If they weren't in the game, it changes nothing. Like,
or maybe there was like some Quidditch like section which
something like that, or maybe you could only land at certain places or something with the brooms or whatever it was. But they just seem completely kind of like devoid of purpose, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
But I think the worst part of the platinum by far is you have to get the map room with every single like house. So you basically have to play the opening maybe 2-3 hours of the game 4 times, which wouldn't bother me if it was like a Dragon Age Origins situation where the opening several hours of the game, on Dragon Age Origins, depending on your origin, you take a very different route through like the prologue, like basically its own like short story that establishes your character and how you join the Grey Wardens. This isn't that. The only things that are different between the houses is there's one quest where you meet Jackdaw. So the ghost guy who, when you do his quest line, that's what takes you to the map room. So you meet him. The quest where you meet him is different based on your house. And when you first get the castle after you've got the sorting hat, you wake up in a different dorm room.
Yeah, it's very. We talked about this more on Talking to PS, but outside of how well they've done kind of creating the world of Hogwarts and stuff like that, there is like some kind of shallowness to the actual game elements of it, which is fine because it's the first game. But
the house stuff feels like it could have been more impactful to the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it basically doesn't matter what house you pick. Other than that, I've been playing Octopath Traveler 2. Finally got into it. I'm about 15 hours in, which I'm genuinely a bit surprised when I looked at the counter. I was like, oh shit, I've played a lot of this week. But yeah, I'm loving it.
Good 15 hours.
Yeah, good 15 hours. We talk a bit. I'm not going to go too much in depth here because we do talk more in Talking to PS. But I am playing on Switch. It's running absolutely fine, which I'm a bit negative on the Switch hardware at the moment. I think it is dated. I think we do need a new SKU, whether it's a Pro or a 2. But a game like Octopath, I didn't really have any concerns about its performance.
Yeah, it's not going to be pushing the hardware.
Yeah, it's really not like when I'm looking at Tears of the Kingdom, I'm looking at that game going, is this a game I want to play in the current hardware? Or is this a game I'm quite happy to sit and wait maybe next year if we get like a Switch Pro or Switch 2 to come out next year? Is this one that's better to wait for?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely recommend.
Yeah, if you like your SNES style RPGs from like games of that sort, JRPGs from that sort of era, or if you've played Octopath 1 and liked it, it's basically Octopath. It is Octopath Traveler 2. It's not a sequel in terms of, hey, these characters are now doing another journey, another adventure. It's a new set of 8 characters in a new world. From what I've seen, there's no real link between the two worlds. Maybe that's something that could bring in later, but yeah, it's just like, hey, we're just doing Octopath Traveler again. Yeah.
So it is something that people can jump into without having played number 1.
Yeah, you don't. If you haven't played 1, it's not going to affect your ability to play this game. You're not going to be like lost at what's going on.
Good. I might very briefly dip into it. Probably not 15 hours dip in, but I'll have a look at it.
Right. I don't think it's a Game Pass game, so you might want to look at Octopath 1 first. You might be able to pick that up cheaper. Fair. If it's like one I just want to test, I think that would be my recommendation. If it's one where you're not sure about and you want to test the waters to see if it is for you or not, I'd recommend going for Octopath 1, because if you might be able to get that on PlayStation Plus or on a sale or marked down or something for Switch, and kind of see if that style of game is for you without paying. It's not expensive. I think it's like 40 quid or something. So it's not like
I completely hate it. That's an expensive 40 quid.
Yeah. It's like when you could probably gauge if you're going to enjoy this game based on playing Octopath Traveler 1.
Gotcha.
It's not like there's a massive shift in the quality of the game. Octopath Traveler 1, it's got that unique art style to it, which is carried over. So it's not like where sometimes when you go back and go, well, you play the first game in the series and go, this is rough. It's not that sort of situation at all.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is good to know.
But yeah, that would be my pro tip. If you're interested in Octopath 2 and not quite sure, go play Octopath 1. And then you'll know. If you finish Octopath 1 and go, I love that game, then buy 2. And by that time, it's probably marked down as well, so you can probably get it a little bit cheaper. So,
always top consumer tips on XPass.
Indeed, we try to do what we can. And you know what we can do, Rob? Well, at least what you can do is introduce us to the
excellently exuberant excavated Xbox expose, aka the news.
The news. And as always, our news section is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, which you can become for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. First news story of the week, Rob. E3 is dead. Seemingly actually this time.
Yeah, I'm absolutely gobsmacked and surprised by this news. I did not see this coming. You know, like I didn't think all the major publishers dropping out would affect it. I didn't think Ubisoft dropping out would affect it, and I'm just really, really surprised that this relic from kind of the bygone era of gaming has failed, really.
Yeah. It's one of them, when I listen to a lot of like other video game podcasts from people like the likes of IGN and stuff who've been around in the video game industry for decades, who've actually been involved in the gaming industry, not like me, who's basically just a talking head with a microphone in my spare bedroom. Like, people have actually been to things like E3, and the impression I've always got from them is they always feel like it's been a wounded beast prior to the pandemic.
I think
I think we talk more about this and talking to PS, so I want to keep this relatively brief. I think COVID has basically been the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think it's sped up the inevitable as opposed to killed it by like COVID didn't kill E3. Like,
no.
It may have sped it up, but the writing was been on the wall for a while.
What COVID did is it meant that E3 couldn't happen for a couple of years, but the big publishers still needed to market the games, so they found other avenues, and then E3 no longer became an enticing prospect for them.
Yeah, exactly. Because like showcasing in itself is super expensive. Obviously, you have like the logistics of getting kind of your entire team, your entire stand, everything kind of set up. Like the pull to do your own kind of show, which you control fully, is just too strong, and you can't really compete against that.
And the thing is, the blueprint for what I think now happens with every like major publisher running their own showcase has been apparent for ages, because it's been quite a while since Nintendo actually did a proper stage show at E3. The last few years when they were there, it's been like it's an extended Nintendo Direct that is kind of just played in the conference hall, and maybe there's a few people on stage and stuff, but it's not been like a full-on massive presentation or anything. It's just been, right, here's your Nintendo Direct, and he's Eiji Aonuma on stage to talk a bit about Zelda. Like,
yeah.
So the blueprint it'd already been figured out by Nintendo of what it was going to do. So when the pandemic hit, Sony and Microsoft went, let's just do that. I mean, they'd already been doing stuff, but it's like, let's just do more of that.
Let's just like roll fully into that, which again was inevitably going to happen. It's just happened quicker.
Yeah, and I think Ubisoft, has been the biggest nail, was probably the finest nail in the coffin. I mean, there's other big publishers pulled out, like Sega, I think Devolver Digital over the last like week or two. But I think it seemed to be Ubisoft pulls out, announced this now as part of Summer Games Fest, and then a couple of days later, the ESA went, E3 2023 is now officially cancelled. And I just don't see a route back for E3 in how we vision it, how it's been.
No, I mean, maybe it goes back to being a pure trade show, which kind of makes sense, but I don't think there's going to be a consumer-facing side of it. Well, not in the foreseeable future, in the current form. Yeah,
well, the thing is, without the big publishers there, no one's going to it.
Yeah.
Because realistically, if you're going to E3, you're flying all the way to LA, and all the expense that involves and staying there, like, you want to see the cool things from Sony, from Microsoft, from Nintendo, from Ubisoft, from Square, and if none of them guys are there, as much as that indie developers are cool, like, is it worth the trip? Like,
yeah, exactly that.
Part of the problem is that E3 is always LA.
I mean, potentially, yeah, but then
gaming's
the
a
counter
global
argument
thing.
Is but I guess the counter argument is to get the biggest audience.
Yeah, I know the industry I work in, our major like kind of trade show changes location every single year. So last year was London. This year is actually Montreal, which is why I'm going on holiday to Montreal. Yeah, that's literally why. That's actually why I wasn't on the Lunar stream last week, because I got asked to go to it, and now I start very quickly planning a holiday in Montreal and New York, and I had to get it done very quickly so we could get everything booked.
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits to doing that, but I think like percentage wise, you have most of the kind of the industry in LA more frequently. But
Yeah.
regardless, it's came to its natural end, I think, and they did a good job trying to kind of like have it limp on, but inevitably there was nothing else that was going to save it, really, was there?
I think we will see E3 again in some guys, but it's not going. I don't think it's now the centerpiece of gaming marketing. Like,
No.
All them years where it's kind of like E3, everyone was looking forward to E3 every year because it was like so condensed and all the great stuff. Like, here's what you're going to be excited for gaming in your hobby for the next few years. Within like a week period, we're just getting so many announcements. It's like impossible to keep up with everything. Like,
Yeah.
It was fantastic for that, but I think that's now unfortunately gone.
Yeah. Some people take its place, and that's fine.
Yeah, well, Summer Games Fest already basically has. Like, that exists basically out of the ashes of E3. Almost like Jeff Keighley set up Summer Games Fest, and now everyone's associating what they're doing themselves with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think maybe that's just one of them situations where this is what E3 needed to become, and because the ESA wouldn't do it, Jeff Keighley just did it himself.
Good old Jeff.
Yeah. He owns gaming marketing now, basically.
More or less, doesn't he? He's positioned himself very well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He's been playing some 4D chess with the industry.
I think I'd argue the three biggest gaming like conferences of the year are now Summer Games Fest, Gamescom, and Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Who manages all three of them? Like,
It's Jeff.
yeah. But let's move on, because again, we'll talk a bit more in depth about E3 and how we think it's come about and what we think the future and stuff could be, what we would do tomorrow on Talking the PS. So make sure you listen or watch that as your preferences. But Microsoft, Rob, has killed the $1 trial of Game Pass.
Again, talking about things which were inevitable, I think this was one too, wasn't it? It was such a strong deal, and it was what I kind of signed up to initially, to kind of check out Game Pass.
I've used several of them.
Yeah, that's probably half the reason it's been called, because there was way too many workarounds to kind of make it happen in perpetuity. But it did its job. It's got a load of people into the Game Pass ecosystem. It's sold a bunch of Model S's, I think. And yeah, I guess like they've launched a platform, they've got some kind of momentum behind it. This kind of super cheap trial has done its job from a marketing perspective, and it's something else will kind of replace it, not as good.
Yeah, I mean, the head of global communications at Xbox, Carrie Perez, explained when speaking to The Verge, "We have stopped our previous introductory offer for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass and are evaluating different marketing promotions for new members in the future." It's like, do you think it's just got Game Pass and now just hit that critical mass where they don't actually need the $1 trials? Like, well, our reputation with gamers is so solid enough. Just pay full price right from the gate. We know you're going to.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it contrasts with what the issue that Google had with Stadia, where it's if they did something that kind of, obviously there's a game argument with Stadia which is never going away, but they never got that critical mass, and I think Game Pass has done that very, very quickly because of this trial. I mean, me and my girlfriend even bought kind of her dad one of these based on for him to try out, and now he's like a kind of paid up member. So it's worked across multiple people and a lot of casual gamers, which is the key to making something like this work. It's not like the super enthusiasts like us. Like, Game Pass will live or die based on how it captures the casual market.
Game Pass is such a good prospect. I can't envision being an Xbox owner without it, unless the entire purpose of my Xbox was to play one game. Like, so if I was just like, all I do is I play FIFA, that's it. That's why I have an Xbox. And yeah, you're not having Game Pass. But if you play multiple games, Game Pass should probably just be like a basic permanent subscription. I think it is such a strong prospect.
Yeah, I'd agree. And also you have to remember that I think a lot of people own a Model S or a Model X because they've got like the All Access bundle,
Yeah,
which is
me.
I think is just a strong marketing kind of proposition. Like letting the $1 trial, yeah,
interest free over 2 years. So you're just splitting your costs, and it comes with Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah,
it's absolute. It's not a bargain technically because you're actually just paying the value of the thing. But it's such a convenient way to get into the ecosystem without looking at like a £500 box and going, "Oh, that's a bit steep" on the old credit card up front. It's like I think it's like £21 a month for the Series S variant.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Netflix plus Disney Plus, and there you go.
Yeah,
You're pretty much there. It's cheaper than if you want to watch football in this country. Like
exactly. So it's not like Microsoft is struggling for good products and good promotions. There, yeah.
And again, I think when we're talking Game Pass, we have to acknowledge that Microsoft, they had a bit of a rough year with games last year. This year's seemingly stronger already, and I think the future is even brighter as some of the studios have acquired over the last few years. Some of their projects come to fruition. They're seemingly expanding the style of games that they're bringing out as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think in years to come, we'll be looking at the kind of major IP that Microsoft owns and goes, wow, that's amazing. And I get all that for free. Well, I get all that for a single, relatively pain-free subscription. It's like, yes, please.
Yeah. ABK too as well. Like that's
what I mean. Like it's getting stronger. Like
that's gonna be crazy.
I mean, the A bit of ABK is coming under a lot more scrutiny, and I don't think you'll get Call of Duty on Game Pass. I think that is where the line might have to be drawn.
I'd agree, yeah.
But the BK bit,
and
Diablo 4 probably will be a Game Pass title. Like,
yeah, they don't need this $1 trial to pull people in. Like the strength of the product pulls people in by itself now. Yeah,
the next Warcraft game, because come on Blizzard, actually do it. Like Phil Spencer, if you're listening, job one with Blizzard is actually get them to make a new Warcraft game, not just keep doing well to Warcraft, fine, but give me a proper Warcraft strategy game as well.
Yeah, like Warcraft 4.
Yeah, give me a Warcraft 4, because Warcraft 3 is one of the best games of all time. Reforged was an absolute garbage truck on fire, and especially when they pulled the original went on release of that, I was like, no, don't do that. Just give us a Warcraft 4. You can do it. We believe.
We'll send a YouTube short to the Microsoft team.
But let's move on, because we could just gush over Game Pass forever if we wanted to. Let's stay in with Game Pass a little bit. Ubisoft Plus is seemingly about to drop in mid-April, allegedly featuring a massive lineup.
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest Ubisoft fan. Like the games at the moment aren't really appealing to me. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed. Well, I played Odyssey, but aside from that's been like the first one I've played since I think Black Flag, really. So I'm not the biggest into the Ubisoft side of things. What about you?
I'm always in a perpetual state of wanting to love Ubisoft, but I felt for a while that, again, I've talked hours at this point about my thoughts on Ubisoft and how I feel it's just like the larger just got into this kind of rut where everything just feels off a production line, and all the luster of the games has just fallen away as the game as a creative industry. They've turned it into just a pipeline of games, which leads everything feeling quite samey, and as other games are coming out are feeling really polished and really unique and interesting, you know what the next Assassin's Creed game's going to be. Well, Mirage seems like a bit of a departure, more in line with the earlier games. But you kind of, if you've played Odyssey, you know what Assassin's Creed Origins is going to be like. You know what Valhalla is going to be like. Same thing occurs with Far Cry. Same thing occurs with pretty much every major SKU they have. You know that the next Tom Clancy game is going to be the last one in the series, just in a different new story, slightly polished up graphics. It just However, it coming to Game Pass, the thing is, while I am quite negative with Ubisoft, I don't think they actually produce any bad games.
No, the crowd goes mild is the phrase I use for
Every
Ubisoft.
single game I think they release is, for me, always usually falls in the 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it's the lack of aspiration that I feel when I'm playing the games. It doesn't look like they're aspiring to be a 9 or 10 and falling a bit short. It always feels like they're quite content being that 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. As long as they sell enough copies, like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So with it coming to Game Pass, I think the key to get people on board is the price point for it. So what would you be willing to pay to have like Ubisoft titles rolled into your Xbox?
Well, the thing is, we don't know necessarily exactly how Ubisoft Plus is going to be rolled in. I think it might be like the PlayStation situation where there's almost like a Ubisoft Lite version where you're not getting every major Ubisoft release on PlayStation Plus Premium. You're getting a lot of the older stuff. But if you want Assassin's Creed Mirage, you have to get Ubisoft Plus itself. I think that might be the situation we'll see. Okay. And I think this is more about Ubisoft Plus as a whole coming to Xbox. Like, because it's not currently there.
Yeah.
I actually don't think... I'm trying to look for the price now. I don't think the price is actually that bad.
It hasn't, like, for Ubisoft Plus by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember. Like, the trouble with Ubisoft games is, like, if releases and you know for, like, guaranteed, if you wait a few months, it's going to be in, like, an 80% off sale. Probably this Easter.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm almost trained, if I do want to play a Ubisoft game, the value, like, you can get it just by buying a game outright for next to nothing. And, like, yeah, like, the monthly kind of rolling doesn't really work for their titles for me.
Yeah, so at the moment, in the UK, Ubisoft Plus on PC is £12.99 a month. And multi-access, so which gives you play anywhere, including things like Amazon Luna, PlayStation Plus when that finally fully drops, or on Xbox when that fully drops, is $14.99. So for me, it's a subscription service that I wouldn't have in perpetuity, like I would with Game Pass. But when Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out, if I decide to play that day and date, I'm probably getting Ubisoft Plus rather than buying the game. Because ultimately, I think that would be the cheaper option. And then I get all of access to the full Ubisoft catalogue. So if I pay £15, that's less than half the price of like Assassin's Creed Mirage is likely to come out at.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if I have it for 2 months, I'm still probably effectively in profit. I've paid less. It's a short game. I'm likely to finish that game in less than 2 months, and then I have access to absolutely everything. That's the way I kind of see Ubisoft Plus. It's how I treat things like Disney Plus or Netflix, where I kind of let a handful of shows stack up, then binge for a month, then kill it. So I'm not constantly paying. That's how I would approach it. So Assassin's Creed Mirage is one of them games where I go, yeah, I kind of want to play this game. Ubisoft Plus is probably the best way, and then I'll maybe jump into a few other stuff while we're there.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be one for me, but
yeah.
Hey, if people who like Ubisoft games have some options within Game Pass, that's great.
If I was Chris, I would probably have Ubisoft Plus most of the time, because Chris is a much bigger Ubisoft fan than even me or you. He pretty much does play to like platinum every single Ubisoft game. So
probably not now. To be fair,
yeah, we'll probably not now. Like it might. I think I have talked to him. I think he is trying to pick his battles a bit more with like the trophy hunting, especially like he has less time on his hands. He's going to have even less time on his hands because now he's got his daughter is about. So just stuff like that. I think his days of like hardcore trophy hunting are basically done. But yeah. Let's move on, Rob. So we have a whole host of games coming to Xbox this month. And I think what we'll do here is I'll read through the list and then we can just pick and choose what games we want to talk about.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So Road 96 Mile Zero comes on April the 4th. EA Sports PGA Tour comes April the 7th. Sherlock Holmes The Awakened comes out April the 11th. Ghostwire Tokyo comes out April the 12th. Disney Speedstorm Early Access comes out April the 18th. Minecraft Legends April the 18th. Dead Island 2 finally comes April the 21st. The Last Case of Benedict Fox April the 27th. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak April the 28th. And Star Wars Jedi Survivor April the 28th.
I mean, let's talk briefly about Dead Island, because this is a game that's been coming out for almost as long as Skull and Bones at this point. I can't actually believe it's getting released. I'm not interested enough to play it, but I'm just amazed this actually came to fruition in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 Dead Island 2 was announced.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's getting put out to die.
Oh, 100%. I don't think it looks bad, to be honest. I think it's just a case of, like, any sort of appeal for that IP, I think, is well and truly gone. It'll find its home. Some people will buy it. A lot of people will enjoy it. But I don't think, if they've got any expectation of it doing the numbers that they wish, then I think they may be a bit misguided.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a lost cause at this point. And with it coming like a week before, like, Star Wars, like, how many people are just going to say, I'm just going to hold on to my money, because that's going to be, by all accounts, a surefire hit.
Yeah, so you're relying basically on the hardcore Dead Island fans picking up this game, who, let's be fair, are now 10 years on in their life. So in whatever that means, because 10 years is a long time, your life changes. A lot of them people might not even be playing games anymore. Full stop. Like
I love the first Dead Island. Don't get me wrong. I know, like, it was a bit divisive in some mechanics, but I really liked it. But I'm not playing Dead Island 2.
Yeah, I'm just hearing absolutely no hype around this game at all. I think the one thing that could save it is when a lot of the reviewers get their hands on it, like, prior to launch. If it comes out and it starts hitting, like, the 8s and 9s, like, if it's hitting that, then maybe that buzz might appear. But it's like, every time they kind of drop a trailer, I'm just like, it looks fine. Like, it's...
And again, there's no room for fine in April, I don't think. Because are you day one on Jedi Survivor?
It's probably. I'm expecting Octopath to pretty much be my April game, and if I'm finishing up Octopath late April, then Jedi Survivor seems to be the next obvious game to jump into. So it is likely I'll be day one, although I have to see what I'm doing in terms of what games I get and what my bank balance is looking like, because right now it's not looking pretty.
What's like is there any kind of mechanics like you're looking forward to in Jedi Survivor, or like any kind of next, like, even like what's like the evolution from the first game like you're looking forward to the most?
Well, I think with the first game, I wasn't actually as hot on it as, like, Chris or Tom. I liked it a lot, but there was some things that I just found a bit, like, the map was, I think, just terrible. But that's been overhauled. The large parts of the gameplay were actually pretty damn good, and it's more about, I want to see the continuation of that story and see how Cal Kestis develops as a character. And, like, with the first one, it's kind of almost like him remembering his training, and that's kind of how the level up system went. In this game, I'd be looking forward to see it, like, okay, I'm now back to where I was prior Order 66. What's the future looking like for him as a development as a Jedi? Like,
yeah, because they've put a new I don't know if it's like a stand system like it was in Ghost of Tsushima, but they did like, there's an option where he uses like a blaster and a lightsaber, like, in conjunction, isn't there? Like, not to the point where it turns into like a shooter type of mechanic, but there's like that type of like hybrid combat, which I'm quite looking forward to seeing. Well,
it kind of makes sense that he would be running around with a blaster as well, because in terms of the lore of what's going on in Star Wars, he's like, he's a Jedi, but he's probably trying to keep a low profile. especially now, like, the Empire know he exists.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, if I'm going to go to this planet and do this thing, it's like, I'm not going to pull out my lightsaber unless I absolutely need to. I'm going to try and get through. Imagine, you'd think realistically, he's probably going to try and get through more with things like stealth and like subterfuge and pulling out a blaster when he needs it, rather than always reaching for the lightsaber. I don't think the game will play like that. I think you are going to reach for your lightsaber a hell of a lot, but
naturally, yeah. But I think it's a nice kind of extra layer to the combat.
Yeah, it's a level of development of the combat that makes sense with the lore.
Exactly,
That sort of stuff does excite me. Like,
yeah, I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the others in this list that you're like looking into?
I mean, if I need like a quick title and I'm stuck for games, like the Sherlock Holmes, The Awakened, I might give a try, because I did play the original for that many moons ago. But no, I think it's all about Star Wars. It's going to eclipse the month, and I've still got titles backed up I need to get through. So need to finish Resident Evil 4, like God of War Ragnarok. Like I still have the download code ready to which I got bundled in for PlayStation. Like there's too many things I need to play, and none of these are kind of pushing it out.
What
really.
You need to do is you need to finish Resident Evil 4, jump straight into God of War, focus on just this main story, don't get bogged down with doing everything, just get through that game, so then like once you finish Jedi Survivor, Ragnarok then becomes your next game.
Yeah, it's the perpetual issue of gaming in your 30s. You take on too much work, and then other responsibilities just eat into your time.
Indeed. I think the only one that is really jumping out to me, which actually transitions onto the next kind of topic, is Ghostwire Tokyo. It's not a game I'm probably going to play now, but I think it is a standout title in that list, personally.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Again, my reasons I am not playing it now is, well, it's not out actually until a couple of weeks yet. But as I said, Octopath is probably the main focus for me in terms of gaming in April, and then it's probably Jedi Survivor. So I don't see where Ghostwire comes into play there, unless I somehow manage to finish Octopath within like a couple of weeks, and I've got a week or two where I'm like, you know what, I maybe jump in to something.
Yeah, that's
but
fair. I mean,
I'm expecting 60, 70, 80 hours in Octopath 2.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is Ghostwire Tokyo is Game Pass, so it's there waiting for you when you kind of find a slot in your schedule.
Exactly, which brings us on nicely to this topic, which is the Game Pass games for April. So, again, reading through the list, we'll do the same thing, read through the list and talk about the games we want to talk about. Everspace 2 gets a full PC release on Game Pass on April the 6th. Ghostwire Tokyo comes out April the 12th. Minecraft Legends comes out April the 18th. Coffee Talk Episode 2 comes out April the 20th. Cassette Beasts comes out on PC only on April the 26th. The Last Case of Benedict Fox comes out April the 27th. And Homestead Arcana comes out in April, but the actual date is still to be determined. So
for this list for me, like Everspace 2 is a game I didn't particularly know much about before I was doing my prep for the show. But looking into it, it looks really, really good. Like it's kind of like a spaceship kind of shooter RPG combat thing, and it just looks like a great little title. It's been in early access for a while now, and then the full release is coming in April. And I think this is definitely what I'm going to sink a bit of time into. Applying like RPG mechanics to non-humans or kind of character things, I think is a really like interesting game mechanic, and it obviously gives you so much like more customization options, because after a while, like your standard RPG is essentially, you can customize your armor, you can customize your skills, and like it's all quite standard. But when you get into like vehicles and stuff, it becomes something quite different. Yeah,
Everspace for me, it's one of them games where I couldn't put my finger on why do I've heard about it. What is this game? Why is this on my radar so much? And what I've realised is the original game actually came to Stadia, so we probably covered it on the Sounds of Stadia podcast.
Okay, there you go.
But on Xbox One, Everspace the original currently sits at an 84 Metacritic rating, and on PC it's 79. So you're probably looking at the first game in like the low 80s. User score is ranging from 6.3 to 7.7. So it's in that kind of game. But I think you're right. I think it does look like quite an interesting concept, and clearly the first one did well enough for them to go, well, we're going to do another.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the one I want to touch on is actually Cassette Beasts, which... I mean, the main reason I want to touch on it is this is basically Pokemon. Like,
how close to Pokemon is it? Like, okay, getting a bit scared of Nintendo right now. Close to Pokemon.
Well, I'm not the publisher, so I'm not scared. But well, you travel. Seemingly, it's a 2D pixel, like 3D, like 2.5D pixel art style game RPG where you travel around the world. You capture these beasts seemingly called cassette beasts, which then you use them in battles to become the greatest that ever was.
It looks very Pokemon.
Right, to quote, collect awesome monsters to use during turn-based battles in this open world RPG. Combine any two monsters forms using cassette-based fusion system to create unique and powerful new ones. Welcome to New Wirral, a remote island inhabited by strange creatures you've only dreamed of, nightmares you hopefully haven't, and a cast of brave folks who use cassette tapes to transform for battle. To find a way home, you'll need to explore every inch of the island and record monsters to your trusty cassette tapes, your Pokédex in other words, to gain their abilities. It feels like we'll start at Pokemon, then we'll take a step towards Digimon, but using cassette tapes.
Yeah. I mean,
none of this is bad stuff, by the way. This is just like the best way I can think to like describe what this game is.
One thing I didn't consider is that this might be a good title for, like, say, like parents who have Game Pass, who want something like child friendly, like the kids can kind of play. This seems like a nice little title to kind of fill that role, really.
Yeah, my only issue with this game is that it's not Pokemon. I think it's one of them games where if I was playing this, I probably could imagine myself sitting there and going, I could just be playing Pokemon right now.
Yeah, is it kind of like buying like the Pokemon toys from like Leeds Indoor Market, where it's like, these aren't, like, this looks like Pokemon, but it's not.
It looks like a cool game, but I pretty much have access to every single Pokemon title there's ever been, like, or at least a variant of each of them. I don't have like Scarlet and Violet, for example, but I could just go play some more Pokemon Violet. I've got every pretty much every title on 3DS as well, and pretty much every title on DS. So I've probably got literally in this room access to probably about maybe 15 different Pokemon games without going into emulation.
Well, now you have.
If I step into emulation, I have access to everything. But I mean, it is on Game Pass, so I hope it does find its audience. But it's just one of them I just don't think I'd be jumping into.
No,
because
definitely not me. I struggle with Pokemon games anyway, so this is definitely not one for me.
Yeah, Rob's just he's terrible. He's like Gary York.
Gary York is the hero. Okay.
Yeah, Gary York became champion until Ash came. Well, actually, no. Gary York doesn't exist in the games, but it's blue in the games.
Oh yeah.
But it's Gary York. Everyone knows it's Gary York. But yeah, I think they're the main ones. We've talked about Coffee Talk before, so not digging into that. Minecraft Legends, again, we've talked about that quite a few times in the past. It's a Minecraft action adventure game, looks pretty cool. If you're in, it's just Minecraft doesn't really do much for me.
No, we're not the audience for Minecraft, are we?
Yeah, Minecraft exists in that kind of like same like audience as like where Fortnite exists, where it's largely all about the younger audience, and I think some of the younger audience, like the kids playing Minecraft every single day, will be well into this game.
Oh yeah, but I'm not one of those kids.
Yeah. Let's move on. A few more stories of the week. Rockay City. It's quite a rocky launch, to put it bluntly.
Well done, Richie. That was a good.
Yeah.
That was a good intro for it.
I spent ages coming up with that segue.
I can tell. Yeah. So for the audience who don't know, this has been pegged as a Payday style shooter, and some people have kind of hoped it was the spiritual successor for Payday, especially Payday 2, and it just seems like it's got very middling reviews. Like, I'm seeing lots of 5s, a couple of 7s, but generally speaking, it hasn't hit the way the developer or the audience wanted it to. And yeah, it's just a bit sad, but I feel like this happens a lot with titles where like these like successor titles, as people call them, where it's like, oh, this is the new Left 4 Dead, this is the new Payday. Like, I feel like expectations get inflated when that kind of dynamic starts to happen, and sometimes it just kind of, what happens here is this game is kind of just been floundering from the start, really. So disappointing.
Yeah, like summarising the game, Rockay City, a thriving metropolis with excitement buzzing from the sandy bay to the towering skyscrapers, but beyond the glamour there is a fierce turf war raging on. After the demise of the previous crime boss, there's an open vacancy for a new king of Rockay City, but it isn't just you who is fighting for the throne. Choose your crew based on their skills and expertise, and execute daring missions with the hopes of walking away with the cash, the turf, and ultimately the crown. I think one of the biggest things I can think of about this game is the fact that I completely forgot it even existed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any big marketing push, or if it has, it's just kind of just went under the radar. And unfortunately, as it stands at the time of recording, it's currently sitting at a Metascore of 48 with a 55.2 user score. And I kind of think if the user score and the Metascore are kind of similar, it's probably believable that this is kind of in the right ballpark. It's when the user score and the critic score is very vastly different, then I usually start digging deeper into like what people are actually saying in the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But out of 17 critic reviews on Metacritic at the time of recording, it has 12 mixed and 5 negative, 0 positive reviews. So none of the critics are kind of going, this is the game you should play.
Mm-hmm.
At best, they're kind of going, it's fine. User score's a bit different. And this is why I'm like talking the numbers. Out of 22 reviews, it has 11 positive, 1 mixed, and 10 negative. So the critics are all kind of going, it's fine to not very good. And users are just like button heads.
Yeah. I mean, I think there'll be like a small audience for it, but the runaway success they were maybe hoping for by picking up like the mantle of Payday, it's definitely not going to be. Yeah. And, that's fine. But generally speaking, like, that kind of first person, like, genre, outside of like the big hitters like Call of Duty and stuff, like, it has kind of stagnated for a while now.
Yeah, this seems to be... I think the fact that there's been very little in terms of fanfare and marketing around it, to me, it's one that suggests maybe 505, who are the publisher, didn't really have a huge amount of faith in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Where, if you remember, like, how much fanfare like there was around Control, for example, also published by 505. It's like... that game was everywhere. Death Stranding, another 505 published game. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This just seemed to be like, oh, and it's out.
Yeah. If it's well received, then we'll push it afterwards, but we're not going to pre-invest in it.
But yeah, again, I hope there's probably something in there for someone, but it's very much I'm looking at it and going, it's not for me. And then when you're looking at games, like it's not for you, and then reviews kind of go like, it's like no, it's just there's other stuff. We've already went through the Game Pass games for this month, and I could play Ghostwire Tokyo instead. I could play Cassette Beast. I could play Minecraft Legends. I could play like Dead Island 2 or Sherlock Holmes or Last Case of Benedict Fox. Jump into Monster Hunter. Like that's all stuff that's coming out this month on Xbox.
For free. Well,
some of it for free. Some of it let's move on to more of a success story. In fact, I think this is probably about as big of a success story as you can for like a small British published indie game. Vampire Survivors won the BAFTA for best game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I have to say I was surprised when it picked up this.
Oh it made waves when it came out.
Oh yeah, like the company it was keeping is the kind of against God of War Ragnarok, and it's against Elden Ring, and you have to think that
for Game of the Year for the BAFTAs was Vampire Survivors, Cult of the Lamb, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Marvel Snap, and Stray.
Yeah, so like even if you want to go down the indie route of like picking an indie title, like Stray's there, which is a superb game. So I have to think that the fact that it's a London-based studio helped them win the BAFTA for best game. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same. I can see a lot of people who were voting for this. So kind of going, well, some of these other titles are not made by UK-based studios, and this is the BAFTAs. Well, it's the British Academy of Game Awards. It's basically the BAFTAs for games.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, do you vote in the British Game Awards? Do you vote for the American or Japanese made game?
Yeah.
Or do you vote for the British one? So I think there's probably that. I mean, I actually kind of like this shortlist because it shows that it's not just the big hitters or the most like profitable titles that are getting it. Like Marvel Snap is a mobile game. Stray is a quirky little indie title. Obviously, God of War and Elden Ring are kind of your pillars of like AAA game design for last year. Cult of the Lamb, Vampire Survivors is a smaller, more indie focus. There's quite a diverse list in there.
Oh yeah, the mix is great. I'll give you that. But I think if I was picking a smaller title, it would have been Stray as opposed to Vampire Survivors. And again, nothing bad to say about this game. It's just I feel like there's levels, and the other titles in there were kind of above that.
My stone would have been cast probably for God of War Ragnarok. But I think for every Game Awards, you kind of... I mean, we should remember as well, it actually got nominated for Game of the Year for the Game Developers' Choice Award and for DICE. It's not a unique thing it's in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I am generally... I think, is it just because of its snobbery, because it is a smaller indie title? That when people going, well, is it on par with God of War and like Elden Ring? It's like, well, clearly it is.
Yeah, probably is a bit of snobbish.
It's not worse. It's just different.
Yeah, but regardless, congratulations to them. They've made a great game, and let's not muddy that with.
Enjoy your success.
Yeah, let's not muddy that with our confusion.
Let's be fair. Elden Ring and God of War have enough awards at this point. Let's have someone else give a go.
Yeah, fair.
And actually, while we're on that, there's new DLC coming as well.
April 13th.
April the 13th, yeah. So, I mean, it's not a surprise that the developers are backing this game right now.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's only $3.99 as well, or on Game Pass, which probably helped towards its popularity.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, talking about DLC, just a quick one. Saints Row's getting some new DLC. And the only thing I really want to ask you, Rob, is do you think new DLC for Saints Row will actually do anything to kind of save this game? Because it kind of fell flat on its face out of the launch.
Yeah, absolutely no chance. Like, Saints Row is kind of a franchise on hiatus in my mind now, because it just needs to go away for a bit.
The biggest surprise about this announcement is it's not just one piece of DLC, it's an entire roadmap for 2023, and there's a lot of like free content in it, such as in April you get a Dead Island 2 cosmetic pack completely for free. In May you get a new Detroit combat overhaul for photo mode and more, that's for free. You also, for the expansion pass, getting the heist and the hazards and new story missions, events, cosmetics and more. Then there's more stuff coming in July and August. I'm pretty actually surprised that they kind of went, you know what, actually we're going to support it for all this year, because I would have thought with the way it came out, they would have thought, any DLC that would kind of advance in development we'll bring out, but then let's just move on from it.
Yeah, I figured they were going to like swiftly move on, but it looks like they're going to support it. I can't see it doing anything, but I guess fair play for trying.
Yeah, I think this is one where let us know in the comments if you actually played this game, because I didn't. I'll admit, and it's like maybe it's found a home, and I've just kind of missed that.
Well, I guess time will tell, but I played it and it was not good.
Yeah. Moving on, last few stories for the week. A Dino Crisis inspired game is searching for a publisher and is tagged Xbox in a kind of Twitter post. Like reading like the actual tweet is like, "Hello, dinosaur emoji. We're looking for a publisher. Primal Omen is a modern survival horror game with dinosaurs made by industry veterans. It's inspired by Dino Crisis, Resident Evil, and Jurassic Park. Come to our booth at PAX East if you want to try the demo. Any retweets appreciated." And then people have retweeted it, tagging Xbox. Would you play a spiritual successor to a Dino Crisis game, Rob?
I mean, I'd consider it. This one looks a bit janky for, like, in my opinion. It's that thing coming back to like what we were talking about earlier, where it always seems like there's like a title which is a spiritual successor to like this much beloved game, and I feel like more often than not they just kind of fumble it.
Sometimes you find that the reason why there's a need for a spiritual successor is the game was put to bed, and sometimes that was for the right reasons.
Yeah, like, you know, trends move on, and what was fantastic kind of 15 years ago, like, it might not have a place in like the current way people prefer to play games, and that's fine. Like, not everything needs to always be like happening forever. So I would play like a Dino Crisis game, but I probably wouldn't play this one based on the reveal trailer.
Yeah, I'm not a survival horror game player, so it's a no from me. I hope to find a publisher. Maybe if Xbox decide to take up the mantle, this could be a pretty cool like Game Pass game. And I think sometimes, like, if we take Valheim, which is actually getting an update with some improved graphics and stuff on Series X and S. It's one of them games that reminds you not to judge a book by its cover. It may look a bit janky, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and we actually talked tomorrow on Talking the PS about Capcom. There was I think it was a Push Square did a poll asking what game would you want Capcom to kind of remaster or remake next, and Dino Crisis did quite well. I'm not going to spoil the poll because you need to go listen to Talking the PS. And that's how you get that, Rob.
I mean, yeah, like I love Dino Crisis, and I'd like to see it again, but I don't want, like, games should like stand on their own legs and not kind of trade off the back of being the new Dino Crisis or the new kind of Payday or things like that.
Yeah. I sometimes worry slightly as well when they seem desperate to find a publisher. It's like you're so far in development and now you don't have a publisher. I don't know what happened. Did they lose a publisher or did they just not ever find one? It's like, is it a case of they're struggling to get it in front of the right people, or is it a case of they put it in front of the right people and the right people went, not for us? And you never really know. But credit to them, they are attending trade conventions like PAX and taking a booth so people can get hands on, which I think does make me feel a bit more optimistic about the quality. They're not hiding this thing. They're going, come play it. Like,
yeah, it's not going to be vaporware, is it?
Yeah, they're backing it. But
good for them. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think we'll finish with one more. And Rob, have you ever looked at an Xbox controller and thought, this just needs a touchscreen?
No, never.
Yeah, me either. Turtle Beach, however, apparently have got a patent out on a touchscreen Xbox controller. And I don't really know what to say about this. It's a Xbox controller that has a touchscreen, which seems like you can load different modules on, like mute, microphone, select mode, and all EQ for your headset and stuff. It could be cool.
I mean, yeah, I guess it looks okay. I'm probably not the market third. I'm not kind of enthusiastic enough to buy something like this. Yeah, it'll be a novelty. Probably get bundled in with a couple of, another edition of Xbox or whatever. But yeah, it's not. Well,
it's a third-party controller, so it's probably not going to get bundled in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
My thing is like putting something like that on a controller. You're immediately affecting battery life because you've got to power a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also putting the price up. So like, what's the benefit of having it there for that with them two negative things?
Yeah.
And if it is just basic functionality, like, it makes it easier to adjust the volume of your headset. It's like, that's not that difficult to do. It's a couple of button presses. I don't necessarily need that right on the controller.
Yeah, it's just like a super novelty, isn't it? And it's like everything has to have a touchscreen or something kind of embedded into it. Which...
Look at the touchpad on the PlayStation 4 and DualSense controllers, where it's like, realistically, if that went away, would anyone care?
No.
I think it's this, like, with the DualSense, where I think the innovations come from, the best innovation is things like improving like the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers.
Mm-hmm.
They're the things where it's like, okay, this is making the general experience of gaming that little bit more intuitive, that bit better. Where you slap a novelty on something, it just, to me, just looks like a novelty.
Yeah, it doesn't move the controller forward.
Yeah.
As a product, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to assume it's a decent controller. I might be completely missing. Maybe if I was like a hardcore, like Call of Duty streamer or something, where it's like, actually, this sort of having maybe some macros built into my touchscreen on my controller might really like help me improve in like things like esports or something. Maybe that these people like in that category were like going, oh yeah, actually this is what I want.
I mean, yeah, but then would you not just get like the Elite controller or?
I don't know. The DualSense Edge and the Xbox Elite controller, I've looked at and thought, for me, the benefits don't justify the cost.
Yeah, but I think if there was a decision between this and one of those controllers, you'd get one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, haven't seen the price. If this comes out, maybe it's like, I don't know, 50 quid. It's like, and if it comes out as 50 quid, it's like, yeah, it's a really solid Xbox controller and it has a touchscreen and it's basically the same price, then there's like, that might be then worth considering.
Mm-hmm.
But I think third party stuff tends to have to be, you have to beat the quality of the first party stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's two ways I think you can go as a third party. One, you can pretty much price match the original and be a better controller, or you add features that people are demanding, which I suppose is kind of being better. Or you become a budget controller, and then you're serving people who don't want to pay full price, where I'm one where, with how many hours I spend gaming, I think it's worth the full price for a first party. It feels like less of a risk. I've bought third-party controllers before, and then I've bought the first-party controller.
Yeah, 100%. Like, for the amount of time it's used, like it's worth kind of having the reliability of first-party. Yeah.
But if you have kids who like to throw them across the room, but this feels more of a premium product rather than a budget product.
Yeah. And it's one I will not be partaking in.
Me either. And with that, I think we come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications turned on. And if you want to join the conversation even further, we have a Discord server. Links are in the description below. My name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
We'll see you tomorrow and Talking to PS. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.